Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rock Stars. Now, as you guys know, this is where we interview people that are just flat out crushing it in this business. And we show you the inside scoop, and how they've created massive success in their business and hopefully inspire you to do the same. And as always, I've got my co-host, Mark Nagy. He's the director of my Massive Action team on the call. Mark, what's up, brother?
Hey, Rod, not too much. I know it's been a few weeks since we've done one of these, since we had our boot camp back in December. But man, one of the cool things is that I know our Warriors are now approaching almost 50,000 doors, looking back from, couple months ago, a few thousand more than what it was. And we've got a great guy here who's contributed to that. So excited to hear and learn.
Right. What's funny is I just did a podcast episode last week, and in my head, I thought we were still at 45,000. I forgot we're at almost 50,000. It's like, over 1,000 a month that we're adding. In fact, I think in December, it might've even been 2,000. So, it's just crazy. But listen, we've got an awesome guy on the show today. His name's Chris Freeman, and Chris is his company is High Tech Freedom Capital. He also has a podcast called High Tech Freedom, so you want to check that out. But we're excited to have him on. He's really killed it in the less than a year that he's been a Warrior. He's now a general partner in 333 doors. He's got 80 under contract, another 30 under accepted LOI. So I don't know what that adds up to, but it's over 500 in less than a year. So real excited to drill down. Chris, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. Thank you, Mark. I'm really excited and honored to be here.
Well, thank you. So why don't you start by just giving us a little background on you, because I know you did this with a W-2, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
So why don't you just give us a little bit of your, little bit of your story?
Yeah. So I started initially in real estate, way back in 1999. But when I say started, I bought a duplex, moved into half of it, working in high tech sales, and doing really well. And over that time, I was building up a nice stock portfolio, using my commissions to continue to invest in the market. But at that time, I'm in the industry of technology, and so where did I put all my investments? Technology. And so when the .com bubble hit or burst, I watched my portfolio crater, my 401k crater. At the same time, I had a future partner that was local. He'd been already doing multifamily for 30 years in the Portland, Oregon market. And it was interesting to watch him just continue to have cash flow coming in and not change his lifestyle in any way, while a lot of his really well-to-do friends we're starting to dial back the international travel, the dining out, going to the college football bowl games, all the things that they really enjoyed doing in life. And so that was really where I was like, you know what, I need to shift. And so that was when I started a journey of just slowly investing locally in smaller multifamily assets. So fast forward, we built up 110 doors locally, but self-managing it, doing everything. And at some point I realized, wow, it took as much work on a 4-unit as it did a 20-unit. Why don't I look at scaling up to something bigger? And that's when I started to kind of slow down, backtrack a little bit to figure out what don't I know about syndicating, doing bigger deals, working with partners, because I was always very much a mindset of, I just have to go do this myself and don't share with anybody. And so that's actually when I first got exposed to you and the Warrior program. And was very, very interested in figuring out if I'm going to go do something bigger, how do I learn what I don't know and really be, a little bit cautious to make sure that I'm not misstepping as we start adding those zeros to the deals.
Mm-hmm. So you joined like in February of this last year, right?
Yeah, it's hard to believe. Yeah, 2021.
Crazy. Now, were you in Orlando at our boot camp? I don't recall.
The one that just happened?
Yes,
I was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Forgive me. Thousands of people a year. I lose track of where. Okay. Yeah. So, and the reason I ask is I asked you about this before we start recording. You've got your vision board behind you on the wall, which is freaking awesome. And guys, I'm telling you, and those of you are going, oh, that's foofy. Yeah, well, it may be foofy, but it freaking works. Okay. Chris is a great example of this. Well, that's absolutely awesome. So talk about your first larger deal that you did as a warrior, as a GP. Talk about how it came together. I don't know if a lot of the warriors do the deals with other warriors. I don't know if it was done with other warriors involved, but can you speak to that a little bit? Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah, it was actually, can I answer that in a slightly different way? Because
please, yeah.
The first deal was really also the challenge of finding my first partner.
Mm.
And, when I first joined, I think I knew what a lot of people do is they try to get good at everything. And I was running around trying to get great at underwriting, trying to get great at working with brokers, trying to get smart on all these different markets, trying to get good at capital raising. And what was happening was I wasn't really getting great at any of those. And so, I was having calls every week. And so what I decided to do was, who do I see as the one or two people I really want to work with, as a potential partner? And so I started to put all my energy and focus into figuring out what challenges are they having, and then try to solve those. And so I identified a person who had a lot of deal flow, and he seemed to be really busy. And what I found was that he's going to need some help at some point. And so I just started pinging him every once in a while, just letting him know that, hey, I just had another person in my network that is interested in investing $50K. Hey, had another person here, $100K. Hey, by the way, would you mind sharing, what is the latest deal that you're working on, so I can continue to warm up my network for what might be coming down the road? And so my thought was kind of more of a rifle type of approach is, if I can solve his problems and show that there's some potential there, maybe he'll look to me as somebody that can help him out along the way. And it's funny because I remember this, the day I was starting to get frustrated and thinking that, hey, it's not working. My whole game plan is not working. I need to just go try something different. He called me. He says, hey, do you want to join us on this deal out in North Carolina? And, so then, fast forward, we ended up doing it.
So this was a warrior.
This was a warrior.
And so you brought, so how you approached him, and what's interesting is you said you needed to learn underwriting and, deal flow and so on and so forth, but it sounds like you honed in on investor relations.
I did.
Yeah. And so you brought, and guys, that's how this works. Okay. You figure out where you can add value. If it's finding deals, finding the money, investors like Chris did here, or, and Chris, you do other things, obviously, besides just raising the money on a deal. You have to, by the way, that's the law. But right. The bottom line is, if, you look at where you can add the most value. And so you focused on adding value, and it materialized. So no, I love that. I love that example, brother. Awesome.
Yeah. The other thing that I learned from that was, it was exciting to be in that first GP, but really the work was, all right, now after we, now that I'm in it, how do I continue to demonstrate value? And so that's where I was like, all right, I really need to step up how I add value. So every opportunity along the way, I was really looking for things that I could do to offload from other team members to help them out. So maybe it was, helping create a better email campaign for the webinar, helping, they were struggling a little bit with the investor presentation, just simple things like the graphics, they weren't working, the map just wouldn't work. And so I said, I got it. Let me go work on that. Or even creating, like in the investor portal, just creating a video of how the investor needs to go create their profile, go do their subscription, and just kind of walking them all through the steps just to make it a little bit easier for everybody. And, the way I looked at it was, besides that one partner, there was other partners on the GP. Those could have been future partners down the road. So to me, you get one opportunity to provide a, really good first impression. And so I felt like you had to over deliver on that first deal.
And that is a recipe for success. I just want to hammer that home. I got to steal all the conversation here, but I want to hammer that home, that what you did is an absolute recipe for success. How can I add the most value? How can I continue to add value? How can I over deliver? And it's obviously working. You're going to be over 500 doors here in the next couple months, in a year. So that's awesome. Awesome. Love it.
I'd love to even go a step further back than that for the people listening, to where it's not blatantly obvious like it is to us, because I know you have sales experience, and so
Right.
raising money, influence, that might be a part of it, but how did you even decide before that what value you wanted to add to a team? How did you even decide, hey, this is my skill set, this is what I want to do to add value to somebody else?
Well, I've heard Rod talk many times about, find the things that you're good at or you like to do. Don't go do something if you don't like to do it, because you're not going to do well at it. And after having some smaller multifamily units, I knew I really didn't like managing them. I didn't like the asset management. I didn't like the maintenance piece. I love the business side of it. I am a salesperson. So it just felt natural for me to focus on some of the capital raising pieces, some of the marketing, the branding, creating the email templates. It's within my wheelhouse. So why not leverage what I've been doing in my W-2 for 25 years?
Love it. Love it. Love it. So are you still with your W-2? Are you still doing this on the side?
I am.
Okay. So let's
yes.
talk about that for a minute. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a family? Do you have kids?
I do. 16 and 18.
Okay. So you've got a W-2 full time. You've got family. You've got kids. How do you balance that and still deliver in every area of your life? And you've heard me talk about my greatest regret in life with my kids and not being, being distracted and everything else. I know you've heard that conversation. So talk about how you manage that.
Yeah, a big part of it comes down to focusing on outcomes that deliver results, right? There's so many things you could be doing, but I've learned over the years, just being in really a high performance sales leadership type of role, there's always plenty of things to do to keep you busy, but a lot of them just don't matter. I mean, you could just put them on the list, forget about them, and come back 30 days from now, and they're not going to deliver revenue. They're not going to deliver results. So I try to focus on the highest priority tasks. The other thing that I would say is somebody's out there with a W-2 job, you have to put your W-2 job first. You owe it to the employer. If they're writing you a check, you have to deliver. Right. And you owe it to them. It's just the right thing to do. So I've always kept that as a priority. But then how do I take a few hours each night, a few hours in the weekend to maximize my multifamily time? And so I do the time blocking. Carve out time for the kids, carve out time for, we're not doing dinners every night, but, 1 or 2 a night, just trying to be realistic and being very intentional. And I use actually a paper planner, and I map out my quarter, my month, my week, and try to just be very intentional about some of those big things that need to get done.
I love it. Hey, those of you listening, January 1st, New Year's Day, I did a goal setting workshop on my Rod Khleif official Facebook page. And at the tail end of that, I did my weekly planning process. And a lot of the things that Chris just mentioned are part of that process, prioritizing, focusing on, in my case, income generating activity was one thing I struggled with, instead of the busy work, but also blocking time and utilizing the Pareto principle to do the 20% that gets you 80% further. And so, if you want to see that, just DM me on any social channel. I'm on every single one of them, and I'll get you the link so that you can watch that. It comes with a downloadable guide that's free, and it's just a real powerful way to start off the year. Since here we are on January 4th, recording this will go live probably this week. So, get in there and do your goals. How are you going to get anything if you don't know what the heck it is? So get in there and do it. It's free. I'm not trying to upsell you. I don't even capture your email address. Just get in there, download the guide and do it. But again, stay for that planning process. It's the last 15 minutes of that goal setting process because it's so freaking powerful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Goals and even on what Chris just said, the goal setting. Yeah. I mean, that's probably one of the things that makes it easy to time block and put time into multifamily while you're working a W-2 job. But I know you have a unique kind of story here in that you did some doors on your own before you became a warrior. I guess with that trajectory, a lot of people would listen to that and say, Chris, you were doing great on your own. You were making good income. Everything was doing great. I guess, why did you even decide to join a group like ours and become a warrior to begin with?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. So, when you have most of our buildings are 10 units, 20 unit buildings, it's an 8 unit, 9 unit. And
so it's a bunch of small ones put together then, correct? Okay, got it.
Yeah, just to make up a portfolio. And early on, I just envisioned that, I'll retire and I'll spend 20 hours a week driving around, working on my properties. After doing it for 20 years, I was like, I don't want to do that. that's not what I want. I want, I had different goals. Originally the goal was I want with the family, 300 units totally paid off. And this is before I knew there's different ways to do anything. But the idea was that would create all the freedom to do what we wanted to do, to give back the way we wanted to give back. And what I learned was that it's not so much owning a unit outright, it's just the cash flow. And so how can I scale up and create a better quality of life? I do it with other partners because I've always been parts of teams. And what I've learned was I had one great partner here locally. He was older than I was, and he's sort of aging out of the business. And I was sort of a man on an island, and it was, it wasn't fun. And I've had so much fun since joining the Warrior program and going to the boot camp and networking with people. When I walk away from an event like that, man, it's like going to a sales conference in my W-2 job. You're jazzed. You just had all these great ideas. You go back, you start writing them down. And, it was less about, just wanting to go bigger and just wanting to go bigger with people.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you then, real quick, just for some context, how long did it take you to build that portfolio on your own, just using your own money?
Yeah. 20 years. And what we did was we would buy, I think I bought my first duplex, 1031 that into a 15 unit building. But one thing that we did, which I just couldn't recommend more, was we never took any cash out. Mm-hmm. We left it in the account, just kept working the W-2 job, then, build it up, throw a little bit more cash in there from savings, and then go buy the next one. And so now we started to get compounding on top of compounding. And, it started to scale. We were able to go from the 4 to 8 unit building to the 22 to 26 unit building. Yeah. And that's when I said, all right, well, how do I go from 26 to 100? Well, that's a different ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me tell you, I had 800 single families and small multis, and that you can imagine the brain damage that of course I had my own management company and everything else, but it's brain damage, and it's unnecessary brain damage, because you can accomplish that and more with larger multifamily, and obviously that's why you joined our program. By the way, guys, if you're interested in applying to join the Warrior program, text the word crush to 72345. And we'll have a call with you to see if you're a fit for us and we're a fit for you. Again, text crush to 72345. And like Mark said, we're around 50,000 units owned, and I've only been teaching for 4 years. So I'm super freaking proud of that. I think that's my greatest accomplishments besides my kids. So, but anyway, so let me ask you this, what actions would you tell a listener to take, Chris, if they're thinking about, getting out of flipping or wholesaling or single family properties? And this is not a plug for the Warriors, but please don't answer it that way. What would you recommend to someone that's on the fence about getting into this business, maybe has a high paying W-2 job like you do, and wondering how to balance all that and still go about doing what you've done so successfully?
Yeah, I would definitely start by just surrounding yourself with some other people that are doing it, whether it's a meetup or some virtual calls, and just start to get more exposed to the environment. And, if you're more comfortable starting small, maybe do an LP, passive investment. I work with a lot of technology professionals that are interested in real estate, but they have no time. They're like doctors, lawyers, they just have no time, but they want that exposure. So maybe do a passive investment and then watch and learn along the way. I did that. And, it definitely exposed me to the processes and the systems and the legal piece of it, which, saved me a lot of time as I was progressing down the journey of doing bigger deals.
And there really are a lot of, even very well paid people in the tech industry that aren't making what they really want to make, or have the ability to retire from that work, to have the lifestyle that they really want. Would you agree with that statement?
Totally. And if I could just tell a quick story, what really kind of spurred me on. So, I've been working on scaling up, but this idea of kind of niching down and focusing on the high tech sales professional, it's a market and it's a person that I know. That's what I do. And I remember years ago, I was up in one of our remote offices when I was working for a company. I was looking at a guy there who I knew as a sales rep. He's in the office. He's, a little bit older. I won't say age, but he's been, I've been questioning, why is this guy still grinding it out as a sales rep when I know he's crushed it? He's hit his quota. He's exceeded his quota, fully funded his 401k. Well, what I learned over time was his lifestyle continued to creep up with, the earnings. And then when it came time for maybe that time to retire, his 401k couldn't fund that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, I don't ever want to be in that position. And I also want to create an additional stream of income, which is why I really focus on real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just interject one thing before your next question, Mark. You said something else about your lifestyle and wanting to give back and contribute. And guys, I will tell you, I seem to attract people that want to do that. And so I'm just, and just know this: power moves to those who serve. So when you give back, you get back tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. So I just wanted to draw attention to that comment. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, well, in every way. I mean, Chris was telling about his first team experience as a deal. And what was the first thing he said? He said, I went and found somebody and I figured out how can I add value to them and give to them, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't think going into the warrior group, hey, how can these warriors add value to me? He thought, how can I add value to them? And those are always the most, I've seen that over, Rod, obviously you have as well, but we see that over and over again. But for someone brand new, Chris, if you were coaching a brand new student, obviously you've been in this 20 years, what do you think you would make sure that they learned education-wise in the first 30 days? First one or two things.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. I would start with, why are they interested in the first place? Let's start with, why even look at real estate? What are you trying to achieve? And then from there, I would focus on some fundamental basics. I think confidence comes with competence. And so when you start learning some of the basic terminology, learning some of the lingo, and you focus on that every day for 30 days, man, after 30 days, you'll be surprised at how much more comfortable you are just having a conversation about the business.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. Good answer. Really good answer. So what are some lessons you've learned? Maybe some mistakes you've made, and how those mistakes or failures have set you up for, future success. Can you speak to that? Answer that any way you like.
Yeah. I've definitely have had some challenges. I'm in one right now, and I had one earlier in my career, but we had one deal where back in the day, I was not paying attention to the details, not paying attention to, as close to the finances as I wanted to. And we had this fourplex, and Oregon's really unique in a way that they don't raise property taxes more than 3% in a given year. It's capped. Wow. Okay. And so I had a fourplex that went across two tax lots. One tax lot had no assessed value. The other one had everything. Well, my partner, he was paying the bills at the time, and we got the tax bill. They went in and reassessed or re-swizzled the tax lot and spread the value across both tax lots more evenly. But when they did that, they raised the price on both tax lots. And when you only have a fourplex and the taxes go up by $2,000, that's a big impact on the NOI.
Sure is.
And so I missed it. And so then the next year I'm looking at going, why is this higher? This doesn't make sense. And so I looked into it. I went through the appeal process, went to the volunteer board for the county, and they said, we totally agree with your case. You got screwed, but you missed the window. And that was just an example of not having, and it was also all paper back then. So we didn't have the SaaS systems to track everything, but it was a good early lesson on a small deal. Pay attention to the details, pay attention to the numbers. Don't let things go too long, address it head on and just deal with it.
No, I love it. So let me ask you this, and it's kind of a two-part question that, again, you can pick one part of it or just answer it any way you like. So what are some important questions that you think someone should ask themselves before they get into this business? And then the second part of the question is, what do you think it takes to become a multifamily investor? So the questions you might ask yourself, and then what do you think? And it can be qualities, it could be, just answer it any way you like. I don't want to pre-frame it.
Well, I think, those two questions, I'd probably lump them together. If you're going to get into it, I really think you need to get into it with a long-term view, right? Yeah. You just need to be thinking, all right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this with a goal of 20 years, because it's not a get-rich-quick business, as you all know. And sometimes you don't see these huge results day one. In fact, if you did, you probably got lucky. But it's the consistency over time, doing it day in, day out, month in, month out. In fact, I've had this conversation with people that were thinking about leaving their W-2 job to want to go jump into real estate. And the first question I asked them is, hey, are you jumping into real estate because you're totally committed, or are you running from something? If you're running from something, you need to get your mind straight first before you jump in, because the reality is you're going to have to work as hard, if not harder, and really work as hard as you've ever worked for the first 5 years to create the next 15 years of kind of what you're looking for in terms of a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people have done it in less, but yeah, I mean, if 5 years is absolutely doable. I've seen people do it in 3, but completely build the life they want. But, great answer. And, actually, now I'm hawing because that kind of ties it. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
What's that next thing for you then, Chris? Obviously, you did 110 on your own. I think you said 333 now, and I think not 30. I think you said you have 130 under contract now, correct?
LOI and then 80 in contract.
LOI,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, they've got he's got another 210 that probably close in the next couple of months. So.
Yeah, it's a good question.
What's the next step for you? Is it a retirement vision? Is it a scale? Like what's the vision for you?
Yeah, so I'm actually having a lot of fun. So just launched our podcast, High Tech Freedom, on January 1st, and it's not a real estate podcast.
What's it about?
It's a podcast for tech salespeople where I bring on other high tech sales professionals that have crushed it, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, to share insight, best practice. Because the general theme of the podcast is, you first need to learn from the best in order to earn like the best. And then, once you do earn it, how do you take those dollars and reinvest it to build additional income streams to create that freedom that we're all looking for?
Sure. No, I mean, and guys, just so that you understand how brilliant that strategy is, there are obviously a lot of high tech professionals that don't want to do this as an operator, and they would rather invest passively. So Chris is creating reach by adding value to that community, which you can do in any niche community. In fact, I can't tell you how many warriors I've got that have podcasts. There's dozens, literally, or have meetup groups, or have LinkedIn groups, or have large Facebook groups with sometimes 10, 20,000 people, or, all of these things to create reach so that when they have a deal, it's easy to find the money for it because they've already added value and built relationships. So I love the fact that you did that, my friend, and good luck with your podcast.
Yeah, well, listen, thank you. I was saying also, I just wanted to thank you because we did have a call and you gave me some resources and some guidance and some tips. I really appreciate that.
Well,
of course, I completely forgot. So thank you for reminding me.
Well, I was going to say real quick, it's creative for some of these people that are listening that are maybe in the tech industry or whatever, and they're not outgoing, they're not sales, maybe they're behind the desk engineers, whatever. And they're like, I don't want to go out and talk to people, build relationships. That's a great idea. Start a podcast to where it's just you in your house talking about something that you enjoy, add value to others, and that's
interviewing experts, and you're perceived as the expert just by being the host. You don't even have to have that incredible knowledge base to host a show and add. Just have to be ask the right questions. So you can be faking it till you make it, honestly, by hosting a podcast or a meetup where you bring in, outside experts. That's a very, very sound strategy. Now, obviously you are an expert, Chris, but again, you don't have to be to create reach in any number of ways. Well, listen, brother, I really appreciate you coming on the show, Chris. It's been a hoot, and it's great to see you. And I appreciate you, and excited to see I know you're going to crush it in 2022. So really excited to circle back with you in a year and see where you're at then.
Oh, well, thank you, Rod. Thank you, Mark. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. All right. Take care.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345.